States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to start tonight with approval of agenda and suggested motions and resolutions.
Move to approve the agenda.
I second that motion.
Motion approved by Riddle, second by Delvo. All approved, say aye.
Aye.
And the motion is passed. Next, we're going to move to Spotlight on Recognition.
It is indeed my privilege tonight to introduce the Employee of the Month for July, and you will recognize this gentleman as our own David Weber, the communication specialist, who joined the Fridley School District in August of 2015. David was first hired in that summer. His role was to support the communication efforts in implementing a communication campaign plan for the November 15th election, building bond referendum, and the operating renewal. He has a can-do attitude and spirit of collaboration, which makes him a valuable asset to any team and the work that happens in volunteering efforts here. Whether test taking a new lunch menu item, and we all know how he loves that, or volunteering to arm wrestle Rick Roble for access to the high school yearbook pictures, listening to student presentation at Tim Leisticle's Theory of Knowledge class, working with Waldo to figure out the new equipment in the updated auditorium, helping a senior put together an audition tape for a college application, or helping graduating senior and her family connect to potential mentors in a chosen field of study. David often volunteers to support student projects and assist staff members wherever he can. He also cares deeply about his role, about telling the Fridley story. He's a perpetual learner, always reflective of the not-so-obvious layers that sometimes surface in the process of writing a story. From spending time with toddlers at the Early Childhood Family Ed program, filming elementary grade-level musicals, covering the Veterans Day program at the middle school, supporting various events at the high school and area learning center, David enjoys connecting with all aspects of the Fridley Tiger community. Thanks to David for his hard work, the spotlight shines brighter on grade-level concerts, musics, productions, plays, district initiatives, and programs because of his efforts. Congratulations to David Weber, July Employee of the Month. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And next, we'll have the superintendent and staff reports.
Tonight we have Principal Patty Awesome with us, who's giving us an update at Fridley High School.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. All right. It's been a nice opportunity to look back at our previous school year and to look forward to the future, our next school year at Fridley High School. We really began our work and really grounded our work in our vision and our mission for the school, and we created kind of a tapestry, a visual for our high school staff and students to weave our work through and to ensure that we were really focusing on our mission, our vision, and our mission. Our vision is to support the success of each and every student in the IB, and our mission is to support the success of each and every student, calls for shaping our culture and our narrative. There were 4 priorities, 4 strategies that we focused our work on. One was standards-based practices, one was activities, another was cultural responsiveness, and our last was our AVID strategies, and I'll talk about each one briefly. We are in our 3rd year of study before this coming up school year, which will be our first year of full implementation of our standards-based grading. We worked with a wonderful group of teachers in our pilot group who practiced the strategies that we've been studying for the past 3 years. And then with that, our pilot group and our IB leaders worked together to make some decisions as we move forward into our first full implementation school year this upcoming year. We gathered a lot of student feedback as well as parent guardian feedback as well, and those conversations will continue into our next school year and the following school years as we continue to implement. Our focus was on academic achievement, content standards, our MYP criteria, defining our levels of academic performance and our approaches to learning skills, and multiple opportunities to demonstrate student learning. Our next focus was activities. We really took some time to really celebrate that we do have so many opportunities here at Fridley for students to be involved, but we also really are talking about how do we ensure not only will students have the opportunity, but to actually connect them to the opportunity. So it's not just there for students, but we actually get them to join that activity, whether it's an athletics, performing arts, visual arts, or one of our many clubs. We spent a great deal of time in our first year of implementation of our cultural responsiveness work with Dr. Shiraki Holly. We call it CLR. And it's very much grounded in our mission and our vision to ensure a safe, engaging, inclusive environment for all of our students to support their success in the IB. We had the opportunity to have foundational coaching at the high school with Dr. Shiraki Holly, and through a grant, we were able to work with 31 of our teachers to go through 3 coaching cycles in which they got individual feedback at 3 different times throughout the school year from coaches that work with Dr. Holly, and Dr. Holly himself was also one of our coaches. All of our staff development from there forward, from our first foundational training with Dr. Holly, we modeled and implemented the strategies throughout all of our professional development sessions to model the work that we expect teachers to do in the classroom. We created a behavior committee to really focus on how do we ensure that students are in class, because that's where they need to be, really looking at what are our responsibilities, what are their responsibilities, and how do we work together to ensure it's a safe, welcoming environment in which we're really supporting students and holding them accountable in a positive way so they can be in class. Our instructional leaders also had the opportunity this summer. They just finished participating in a summer institute called Coach 1 or Coach 2, in which they received more study around their mindset and skill set around CLR with Dr. Holly. Our fourth strategy was AVID. We're really working on our implementing AVID school-wide across our building. And we really worked hard this year on really modeling the reading strategies throughout our staff development with our teachers from different disciplines. And how does that look? For instance, how do reading strategies look not only in our language arts classes or reading classes, but what do they look like in Phi-Ed? What do they look like in business? We also continue to train our teachers through Summer Institute. We've been lucky. It's been held in Minneapolis the last few years. And we've hired AVID tutors to really help support the classroom work. And we are creating a site committee, which will be implemented this fall to ensure, again, through each of the different disciplines, how are we ensuring that we're really using our AVID strategies, which are good for all students across our building. Our next steps, we will continue our work in these 4 areas as we continue to focus on our why, what's extremely important to us, to continue to focus on our mission to support the success of each and every student in the IB. So we'll continue with those 4 strategies, and we will also add the MTSS strategy, the multi-tiered system of support. We've added that. We've actually just finished our first year working with MTSS. We've done a lot of training with an MTSS committee this year of teachers and administrators working together and really looking at our frameworks of support and what do we consider and define as support versus what do we consider and define as intervention, and how are we meeting students' needs and how are we looking at and focusing on our data to really help us make good decisions as we move forward and ensure that communication is very clear as we move forward to ensure we're meeting the needs of our students. So we've spent some time this summer and we'll continue to work this summer as we move into year 2 next fall. And it was really, it was actually very fun to really reflect and looking back at our school board priorities and really reflecting on how our work supports that and goes back to the why, which is that that tapestry. It's so important for us to always ground our work and to ensure that we're doing things for the right reasons and that we're here for the kids. And so as I looked through and reflected on each of the school board priorities, I felt very strongly that our work at the high school, our real life work at the high school is really focusing in on the school board priorities. And with that, thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Well, it's
Great.
good to hear that our priorities actually connect to the work that you're doing. It's always nice to have that reinforced. What kind of feedback have you received so far about the standards-based grading from the students and teachers and parents that you've talked to thus far?
You know, it's been interesting. We've had some positive feedback. We've had some negative feedback. It's really understanding and really taking the time to really educate our students and as we continue to learn as a staff, to educate our students and to educate our families and to understand that it is a mindset shift. For it's not the way we learned when we were growing up, and it's not the word we were graded, and really a move from these are the points for this and completion to really how are we really learning this in order to move on, because the learning, if we're just gathering points because we can fill something out well or turn something in on time, that's not really learning. So it's really moving to what is the academic learning that's happening so students can then build upon that for the next step. And that's struggled because it's different. It's a very different system, but I think as we continue to work together, and we need to just make sure that we're giving our students and our families time to understand it and giving them opportunities to learn. We also really need to give our educators time to learn it and to kind of work through their challenges as well, because there will be as we continue. But I think it's a really good thing. It's I've had the most success. My son actually is a Fridley student as well, and so I talk to him all the time about standards-based grading, and it's been a mind shift change for him as well. But as the course of the year, he really started to understand it and know really, really clearly for the first time in his educational career what it means, like what is really expected of him. And that's been very, very powerful for him to know exactly if he really wants this or that, then he knows exactly what he needs to do as well and ensure that he's learned the material.
I'm glad to hear that. I think it's a exciting change, even though change is hard and takes time. If I have two more questions. So you've been with us a year. You've completed 1 year as the principal of Fridley High School. Just out of curiosity, could you name the highlight or the thing that you would highlight the most out of your first year and the things that stretched you the most in your first year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my greatest highlight is the kids. I've had such a wonderful time getting to know the kids. This year, Fridley students are so friendly and so welcoming and willing to include me. It's hard to step into big shoes to be filled by Principal Van Gorp. That's very difficult. And I knew that would be, but they didn't make it as challenging. They were welcoming to me as well, and I got to know the kids, and it was really fun at the end of the school year to be able to give the seniors their diplomas and know so many of the kids as they walked across the stage and shook my hand, and to be able to say congratulations and call them by first name because I knew most of the students that walked across, so it was really fun. So I feel very connected very quickly to the students here at Fridley.
Good.
And what stretched me the most is, again, it's not necessarily specifically a Fridley thing. I think it's when going to a new location, really understanding the culture, taking the time to really build those relationships and really understand and respect the good things that are going on within the school and within the district, and learning those processes and procedures and relationships in order to really figure out where do I fit in, where can I help, where do I sit back because things are going really, really well and they don't need me. They need me to help keep other things out of their way so people can do the good work that they do.
So you'll be back.
Oh, absolutely. Very, very
That's what I
happy
was
to
really
come to
getting
Fridley.
at. No,
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for your work this year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And next, we'll move on to the construction phase 2 presentation. Mr. Matthew Hammer.
Yeah, so tonight I get to give us an update on where we're at in phase 2. So last year at this time we were in the middle of our high school and elementary addition projects, and this year we're working hard on those projects that the public was so supportive back in November of 2015. So my name's Matthew Hammer. I'm the Director of Finance for the school district, and we're just going to give an update on where we're at in phase 2 of our construction projects of 3 phases. We're actually going to have another phase in next year as well, but let's just get started. So the guiding principles that guided all of the work that we did as we laid out the referendum priorities way back in 2014 and 2015 we wanted to make sure that we were providing a safe and secure environment for our students. We wanted to make sure we were protecting our community's huge investment in our infrastructure, and we wanted to make sure that the facilities we had were continuing to meet the changing needs of our student, staff, and community. So with that, the public was in support of a $27.5 million project back in November of 2015 that really was targeted at making sure we were updating our safety and security, so cameras, updating secure entries, those types of things, updating our fire suppression systems, Making sure that our technology infrastructure, when we're talking infrastructure, it's cabling and those types of things, were updated. And then taking a big chunk of our deferred maintenance, our roofs, our exterior envelope, our HVAC systems, and making sure they were updated as we move forward. And then, like we did last year at our elementaries, making sure that the space problems that we were having, especially our lower grades, were addressed. So just to take a look at the highlights of what's going on this summer. As we look at the pictures on the left here, those are updates that are happening to the front of our middle school building, the areas of where our principal's office and the main entry. It's a widening of that space as well as updating how families and students will be coming through those spaces as we go into next school year. On the right, those are our fire suppression projects that are going on up on the top. We're running piping throughout all of the corridors throughout the entire middle school. That building was not sprinkled at all before this summer and will be sprinkled as we move into the future. Technology, all of our cabling is going to be updated to Cat 6 cabling, which is an important move for us as we can leverage the fiber that has been brought over the last number of years to making sure that our wireless infrastructure and our technology is supporting the changing technological needs of our students and staff in the buildings. Kitchens. Last year we were at Hayes Elementary. This year on the right we're at Stevenson Elementary, updating our kitchen spaces. There was a lot of updating that needed to happen in there, from equipment to HVAC to the serving lines. It's basically a total redo when you take a look at them from the outside. On the left is our middle school. There's a lot of updates going around in that area, in the kitchen area, that are most of it's directed at flow, of making sure that the increased enrollment that we have there, we're taking care of those flow issues that we've had over the last number of years. There is some equipment, but it's largely geared towards updating our serving lines and the spaces there to make sure that we can serve the needs of nearly 950 students that attend there at the middle school. Also, some other projects that we have going on. There's an update to our middle school gym, main gym, was original. So the bleachers as well as the floor are getting redone as we go into next year. It's a big update. There's also a stage that was in the middle school space that's going to be repurposed and reutilize space that will be able to be used for Phi-Ed and other instruction as we move forward. It was space that was basically needed to be abandoned because it didn't meet ADA requirements, it wasn't health and safety, didn't meet health and safety code, and when we had to sprinkle per fire marshal order, it was really going to be restricted. So we wanted to make sure we were reclaiming that space as we move forward. We also have updates going on in our media centers. These are maintenance items that we've had identified for a number of years. It's updating carpet, making sure that we're cleaning up the spaces with paint and those types of things, and also opening them up to make sure they're more flexible spaces as we move into the future. Media centers obviously are getting used for lots of different things, and we need to make sure that they're flexible and are able to meet the needs of both the staff and the students as we move forward. Parking is another area that not only have we heard it from the public, we've heard it from our police department, so on and so forth, of those areas, to make sure that we're making them a safer place to be as we move forward, and then improving the flow. We had not only maintenance, but as part of this process, we wanted to make sure that we were updating the environment as people are dropping kids off, as we're getting kids on the buses, to make sure those places are a more safe environment for families and students to get their kids to and from school. So on the top left is an image. It's an aerial image of what the space is. It's a Google image actually of what what the RLS elementary parking area looked like prior to the construction. And on the bottom right is an updated picture of the updated parking as where it is stands today. Obviously, it does not have the blacktop in yet, but we're working in that area. The following image is a huge upgrade to the flow at our middle school. If you've been to our middle school, all the parent drop-off and bus drop-off was all done at the front of the building. This update on the bottom right is actually the back of our Fridley Middle School. We're adding a parking lot in the back that will strictly be used for bus drop-off and separate that parent drop-off and bus drop-off for both at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, which is an important piece because if you've been over there, the traffic has been horrendous. So we hope that this improves our logistics as we move forward.
Matt, could you go back on the Stevenson and
Yes.
show where the bus drop-off is there, just to kind of explain that to the public?
Yeah, so actually that area that you see in the back where the playground is, that actually is going to be a parent drop-off area. It's an increased parent drop-off area to make sure that the buses are still going to load in the front of
they are,
Stevenson
okay.
Elementary. But we wanted to make sure that parents had adequate space to drop students off when they're coming to and from school.
And not have to park up the hill.
Yes, and
or
not have to
down
pick her up the hill.
Right.
So if you look where that tree is in the far right of that bottom picture, historically, we had a lot of parents parking in those areas. We wanted to make sure that we provided enough space in that turnaround to create that flow so parents could drop their kids off all along the sidewalk areas, starting on the top left of that bottom right picture all the way around to where the gymnasium and cafeteria start there.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm getting it.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, getting it.
Anybody that's seen that, it's always a crazy
know,
crazy
like-
time there to pick up and
Yeah.
drop off too, so.
Yeah, I've been seeing the construction.
So these are the projects that are going on and highlighted projects. Obviously, there's a lot of deferred maintenance going on that you don't necessarily see on the insides. HVAC updates with our heating and ventilation systems throughout our middle school and updates at our Stevenson Elementary. We're moving away. We've had multiple systems and we're putting them on our energy management systems as we move forward, which is good for everybody as we move forward to help us control our energy costs as we move forward. Also, there's windows and roof projects going on, and if you've been over there, you can see that they're busy at it, and we're can't wait for people to come back in September right after Labor Day and be ready for them.
Awesome.
Great,
Thank you
thank
so
you.
much for all your work. Next, we'd like to invite Mr. Dan Roth up for activities presentation.
Hello,
Hi.
you get this? Okay. So, just want to give you a little brief update of what's occurred this past year. And as you can see there's our mission statement from our department, inspiring and developing excellence. And it's really twofold. We take it very seriously. And this is why I say coaches in the morning get up, and this is what they get up for. And inspiration comes through relationships, and development comes through the knowledge and science and all the things that we're held accountable to understand about kids in the sport or activity that we're in. So we take that part very seriously, and excellence is a term that is defined differently by other people and by kids themselves, but we tend to know when we see excellence, and so we'll try to point some of that out tonight. So you guys, are looked at the video for Why We Play, which is Minnesota State High School League. And so that question, why do we play? What is that about? Well, our research says that 97% of kids do not compete in activities after high school. High school is kind of a terminal experience. So if it's not about playing at another time or somewhere, then what is it about? And we really feel that it's really about growing character strength within the individual, so that our vision is that they all stay impacted and active in those activities, whatever they choose. And some are many activities, but they use those experiences to help other people. And we truly believe that most of the time what we're growing are parents, because most times parents extend those activities and those passions to their children. So if we coach them and teach them correctly in the right ways, that's how they will then carry that on. And if we do a poor job, they pass that on. And so that's where we try to stop that kind of cycle. So we take that very seriously. And so what we do is each coach develops a coaching purpose statement. And here at Fridley, we're probably on like our third revision of that with coaches. And literally in the high school league this year is a turnover where every coach to be qualified has to go through this coach's clipboard program. So it opened up again here in July. And so every coach now, they have to do it every 3 years. And so even if they were a first year coach last year, they're doing it over. So I put up 3 purpose statements that some of our coaches have revised, and you can see those. And we ask that our coaches share that with their parents, share that with their kids. And then we ask the coaches to let the kids help them be the gatekeepers of that. So if they're not in their purpose, they should be challenged and held to that, what they say their purpose is about. So we feel like we're moving along and getting stronger at that. So in our department, we have 5 goals that we judge ourselves. And so what I'd like to do is go through an example of where I think we showed some excellence in those areas. So goal number 1. So one of our goals is to create lasting experiences. And so we felt that a good example this year was the Fridley Champions Club. And what that is, and I want to thank you all for the referendum where we now have a dedicated mat space in our high school. And with the history of Fridley wrestling, it was only a matter of time before some very significant people said, let's make this something special. And so with some community members, retired coaches and administrators, parents, veteran, parents that have lived in the community, we raised $35,000 to take that room and augment it and make it something special. So when our kids who participate in that sport come out, they look at that and they say, wow, this is bigger than me. And so they're able to connect right away. And just a couple of things, I hope you all have the opportunity at some time to go look at it. But I think what is really special is there's a picture of every varsity team that ever wrestled at Fridley on the wall. And so we have pictures of state champions and names of people who are high flyers, but every person who was part of that program has their picture up there. And I think that's a great message for our kids. And so we're really proud of that. Lasting experiences create generous hearts and active citizens. So it kind of pulls them back. So our second, one of our goals is value development. And we have 10 core values that this probably was 8 years ago. A collective group of coaches got together and we worked and said, these are going to be our 10 core values that we're going to build this program around here. And so each year we have to, are we following that and are we teaching those things? Well, last year we had our leadership initiative was called True Mental Toughness. And so we're really trying to get our kids to reflect about what that means, both as a competitor, but also as a good human being. And what's important on this piece, I don't know if you can't see this. Here we go. Oh, we're going too far.
There you go. Stop.
There we go. All right. Is true mental toughness. We tell them you need to say this before and after. No matter what the circumstances, have a great attitude. Have a great attitude no matter what the circumstances. And we're not talking about, when you get beat by a pass or strike out at the plate. Yeah, that's important. But really, when you lose your starting spot, do you have a great attitude? Do you treat people really, really well when they say something about you on Twitter or Instagram, or when life's not going really well at home? And so those are the things that we really ask kids. And we're able to go to this and use this in those teaching moments. And so that every year we have something that we're working on and bringing to our kids. Program development. So obviously, you know, there's your program at the school, and you could say the varsity program or the JV program or the 7th grade program. But in reality, it's program at 5, 6 years old, connecting with our alums who graduate. And so what we look at here is our first annual Fridley Golf Tournament Athletic Hall of Fame. We're proud of that. It was really successful. In last August 1st, we had 124 golfers, 160 people came to the dinner, and we put in 10 inaugural Hall of Famers. This year, it's going to be August 7th. If you're available, we'd love to have you here. But what it started from was our football program. Back 5 years, it would be 6 years ago now, a new coach came in and he wanted to start a golf tournament. And so that had been going along, and we'd get 40 or 50 people. And we thought, this school deserves to be honoring the people from the past in this community. And so we thought we could maybe put the two things together and see what it would come up with. Well, I think we knocked it out of the park. I think the feedback we got, a lot of alums came back and really had a good time. We raised over $10,000, and we started with it, we also built in a sponsorship program, and the sponsorship program is really for any sport or any activity. And so what we have is if the coaches and the community within that small group community wants to do the work, the money goes back to them. The only part that we take, Sue and I, our athletics, is just really to buy the banners, to print the programs where their names get in, but it goes right back to the program. So in some ways, it causes for a little bit of competition between groups, but they also have to work together. So it's kind of a good lesson. Our next goal, our fourth goal, is operational efficiency. And we're constantly, with technology and the changes and the things that are going on, we have to pedal hard. And what we've done is we have an agreement with BSN, which is a large national sporting goods group, and Nike. With that, for equipment, uniforms, and our coaching apparel. And so they say, with this agreement, we will choose Nike as the brand to put on the teams. It's a 3-year agreement, and we have team stores and apparel, incentive packages for coaches. It will go right back to those teams. And right now, the kids are consumers, and they really look at that. And it's interesting is some kids choose what high school they're going to go to. They ask, well, what do you guys wear? What are your uniforms like? And so we have to be aware of that. If that's not maybe one of our top values, but if we want to stay competitive, we need to be doing what our neighbors are doing as well. But we think this is good we're getting good deals with this. We have our Varsity News Network. When you go into our website and you click on the tiger, it'll send us to, that's what we're actually in, is this VNN website. And with that is, we connected to Twitter. We also have a Facebook account there, and it generates small articles when coaches put in statistics and scores of games. So hopefully, and it also charts how many hits we're getting. So that's been nice for getting our message out there. I thought you might be interested as a school board. Every few years, we're required to do a student interest survey. And so we did that this year, and we kind of went through and charted it. And the top 3 activities not offered that interested Fridley students were archery, karate, and table tennis. And so I doubt we're going to be starting clubs in that right now, but I'm going to pass this on to maybe our physical education staff for some units. It was surprised that boys volleyball was I bet you that we had 58 kids showed an interest in that, and girls football. So it's kind of interesting to see what kids see. And with that, we have several new clubs are going to be starting this next year. They come and they did the work and they made their case. And so bass fishing. Yep, we have our trap. We have a trap team now, and they've been going for about 3 years, and a lot from that group. Now it's bass fishing, and in places like Arkansas and some other states, it's actually kind of like all robotics is, very competitive, and so step dancing and competition cheer. So we have sideline cheer kind of in the fall. If you attend football games, you'll see that. Well, now they're moving on. We had a club that started last year, and now they're going to actually try to, they worked on it, but now they're going to actually try to go to a few competitions. So our fifth is skill development. And I think that's where we typically look at, are we successful? Because if you have skillful people, they perform well. And this is just give you a little look at how we did, but I think we had two state tournament teams, boys tennis, which had not been to the state tournament in 35 years, and Mr. Brunitsky, our coach, had a little get-together of alumni, and they had like 60 alumni come back. And so that was, I think, kind of showed the excitement that drew. And in football, we went this is our second year in a row, and I believe that's never been done by a Fridley team. And we're going to be knocking on the door again, I think. We had a national award winner in visual arts, Amir Kadar, and he was in 6 separate national categories. Unprecedented. I don't know if that's ever been done. Around here, obviously not, but maybe in the United States. We had a state individual speech champion. In every school I've ever been in, from high school on, I've never been around a state speech champion, so bucket list check. Pretty impressive. 23 total individual qualifiers, which I think says a lot about the breadth of our program. And we had 57 all-conference performers. And I think that really shows that our kids are really starting to have that will to compete. And that's fun to see. Okay, maybe one that's most interesting and that I'm personally most proud of is 10 students that have said, yeah, I want to keep playing. And they've chosen to go on and both be a student and an athlete. And I do truly believe that it's because of our coaching staff and our teachers and the relationships they've built. I do think the AVID program, because many of these kids are choosing Division III, and if you know anything about trying to apply for school and go through FAFSA, that's often a deterrent to especially a kid in a family that are profiled in from AVID. And I think that really has, because many of our students of these 10 come from that program. And just the resiliency and grit of our students, you know, we have really cool kids here in Fridley. So what's on the horizon? We'll quickly go through the goals. Lasting experience, we're looking to duplicate our Hall of Fame into the fine arts. Our Fine Arts Festival has really grown, and I think that's been because we went from a drama club to a performing arts club, and it broadened that umbrella, and more kids could enter. So we like that. Our values, we're working off of with Pete Oakley. He leads a leadership academy. We've hired him to come in. He's going to work with our kids. He's already spent 4 hours with us last week with our captains of teams and leaders of groups. And basically his concept is lead yourself. It's called Become Worth Following. And if you think about why do we follow people, it's really hard to tell why. You just do. What is it about that person? Well, that's what we're trying to work with kids. Make yourself worth following. And so it's lead yourself. So we're working hard on that. Our goal number 3 is the program development. Chris Bondi is going to be in a first full year. He came on as a middle school coordinator last year, and I think he has a high capacity and really wants to make an impact there. And with the construction, we will now have a gymnasium that's going to be in a sound system to make presentations, because that's been a deterrent for me personally because of where we are with time and space. But because the kickoff's going to be at the high school, we're going to have our first middle school parent opportunities information night, just so they can understand what this is all about and the difference between high school and middle school and how some are together and some aren't. So we're going to do that with our new auditorium, and I think that will kind of get us a leg up and get going and make some gains that way. In operational efficiency, Sue and I are working hard to convert to Google Docs for everything, where that's where coaches go. The handbook is in there, all the forms they need, so we can spend more time on probably working on developing them and all the other issues that we have. So that's adult accountability, and we're working on a new tardy and attendance tracking for athletes, and we're gonna have some student accountability as well. So everybody's getting a little piece of that action. And in skill development, our coaches, we're having a professional development workshop on August 1st, and they come voluntarily. We put it on for them. They get CEUs. Our coaches, we've had success with it because they want to get better. They care about our kids. And then the Why We Play training workshop is the day after, and I'm taking 5. And we've been in Minnesota, we're down the road pretty good here. Now we're forming implementation teams because we want to train coaches because we always have turnover. And how do you keep those new coaches involved and up to date? And so that's what that's about. That's where we're at right now here. Any questions?
I have a question. You said earlier about the reason why we do this work is that we're making good parents out of our kids eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
Did you come from a good parent?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I have a special guest here. I brought my mom with tonight. She's down here celebrating her birthday, and I thought we were eating over at one of our local places with my family, her grandkids, and my wife, and I don't know, she's never seen me at work. So I said, "Do you want to come and watch me work?" She said, "Yeah." So that's my mom, Mary Alter.
Yeah.
Were you celebrating anything or just out for dinner?
I think she turned 49 today.
She looks like it. Believe
Happy
me.
49th
There's
birthday.
that Edison grad.
An Edison grad.
Edison education right there.
Thanks for being here, Dan's mom.
Happy birthday.
You too, Dan.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
No, great report. Love what you're doing, and this stuff is hugely important for academic success.
It is a lasting impression. Thank you.
Thanks for your support, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to move on to business action items with the resolution adopting the 10-year-long term facilities maintenance plan. Matthew?
Yeah, so tonight we have our updated 10-year plan that's required by state statute, and it's in front of you for your approval.
And clerk, will you please call the roll?
Move to approve the resolution.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So we are going to have the resolution for adopting the 10-year-long term facilities maintenance plan. And there's a motion by Riddle. And
Second?
then please call the roll for the resolution.
Aye.
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 Any discussion? No, and the resolution passes.
May I just make a statement about it? That this is a really important plan, that this is something that the board looks at and the administration looks at ongoing to help us when it comes time to look at facilities maintenance and what kind of our needs are. So we're staying way ahead of that and can anticipate things in the best way so don't have a lot of surprises. So just wanted to state for our listeners the importance of the long-term facilities plan.
Awesome, thank you. And we are going to look at the renewal membership in MSHS.
The Minnesota State High School League.
Thank you.
Thank you. In your packets tonight is the annual resolution for the 2017-18 resolution for the membership in the Minnesota State High School League. It states in this resolution that we, as a governing body here at the Fridley School District, will adopt the Constitution, bylaws, rules, and regulations of the league and its official handbook. And this is something that we do on an annual basis. So I would support the continuation of this membership.
And would somebody like to accept the motion?
I would move that we accept continuing our membership in the Minnesota State High School League.
Thank you, and please.
Second.
Second. And any discussion? Will you please call the roll?
Aye.
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 And with no discussion, the resolution passes. And now I would like to ask Dr. Flathman to talk about the Superintendent Policy 303.
In your packet are a number of policies for the second reading tonight. The first one is this a slight change that was made, I believe, in just reference to whether or not the superintendent was the superintendent of the school board of the district. And so that's the change there. In addition to that, we have a number of other policies that I think I will just name in that during our board business or work session, there were no other changes. So they were brought as the last. We have policy 509 with enrollment for non-resident students, policy 524, the internet acceptable use, 601, the district's curriculum and instructional goal policy, 603, curriculum development, 604, instructional curriculum, the waste reduction and recycling at policy 805, 414 of mandating reporting, 525 violence prevention, and 621 of the development of parent and family engagement policies for Title I programming. All of these policies were done with changes that were updated from MSBA.
Awesome, thank you. And do I have a motion to accept the second reading and adoption of policies?
May I make one correction? The policy 612 was our first reading. Is that
No, I
correct?
think that should be second reading,
I
612, wasn't it?
think it's the second reading, 513 and 799 are,
Oh, just a
Yeah, it's
note,
on, yeah, on the,
it says
Okay,
first reading on the
perfect.
document.
okay,
so-
we'll make that change, thank you.
Is there a motion to accept the second reading and the first reading of 612?
so moved?
Second?
Second.
A motion by Riddle and a second by Dalvo. And the motion passes
No, I have to actually vote on it first.
for the first reading.
No, we have to-
No, we have to vote for on the second readings. So we have
Oh,
to
all those
call
in
for a
favor.
vote.
all those in favor? Aye.
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 And the motion passes. Okay. And we're going to have a motion for rate for 2016, 2017 private transportation contracts.
So tonight we have a motion in front of you to adopt the 2017-18 private transportation contract rate. State statute requires school districts to transport students attending non-public schools to either the boundary or to the non-public school within the school district boundary. Tonight, you're going to approve the motion for the rate, which is $266.50 per family per school, and will be prorated based on the number of days transported.
And is there anyone who would like to accept the motion for a rate of 2016, 2017 private transportation contracts?
I move to accept.
Second.
Okay, motion by Dalvo, seconded by Thornton to accept the rate. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes. And we would like to go over the consent agenda. That would be to approve the consent agenda of routine action items, including minutes of the regular school board, the work session held on June 20th, 2017, monthly financial reports, new contracts, amendments, leaves of absence, nominations, resignations, and retirements, athletic cooperatives for 2016, 2017 for girls swimming with Totino Grace, girls gymnastics with Osseo, boys hockey with Irondale, girls hockey with Board North Metro Stars, and agreement to provide special education and related services from the 916.
Before I move to approve, just a reading error that it was the contract, the athletic cooperatives for 2017-18.
Yes, thank you.
And you stated, but the minutes reflect 2017-18.
Yep,
You read
excuse me.
2016. So just want to make that correction that the minutes are correct in the date.
Yes.
And I would move to approve the consent agenda then.
Second.
And a motion by Delvo, seconded by Thornton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes. Okay. And now we'll go to first reading of policy 513. Amina?
Hi, I'm presenting Policy 513, Student Promotion, Retention, and Program Design. The changes in this policy reflect changes in legislation and the MSBA model policy, guiding the district to use research-based tools to identify students for gifted and talented programs and acceleration. I submit it for its first reading.
Awesome. Thank you. And reports from school board members, Northwest Suburban Integration School District, joint
We
powers.
have one other policy
Oh,
that
I'm sorry.
Matthew is
Yep,
going
yep.
to talk about. Nutritional services.
Nutritional services.
So we have the first reading of Policy 799, Nutritional Service Meal Charge Policy. These updates are put in place to update the policy to reference procedure. And all the updates are making sure that we obviously meet the state and federal guidelines with our meal charge policy.
One other just comment about procedures. There are a number of policies this past year that Lori has done a great job of making sure that we might have parallel information that's on our website that with a procedure, with a policy that has a procedure attached to it, that is also on the website. So if someone wants to understand what the procedures are for the nutritional services meal charge, that will be there as well.
Wonderful, thank you. And Chris, would you like to go over the joint powers meeting?
Yeah, at Northwest Suburban had our kind of wrap-up year-end State of the Collaborative address from each of the individual folks over at Northwest Suburban. The directors of each of their departments put together a nice little slideshow presentation for what's been going on over the past year for us. It's been still a very strong year for the lottery program, which is the main magnet school program that's run through Northwest Suburban on it, and they also help us out with things like the AVID program that we heard a little bit out earlier this evening, as well as some of the other programming, our Step Up Mentorship program on the boys' side of it, and then the comparable girls program to help them look at what they can do ahead as far as college and career readiness. So it was a real nice overview of what we saw there. Also went over the contract for the executive director, and that was approved. One of the interesting things that they're doing over there is they're working specifically with Best Buy Corporation, trying to work with the various different departments to kind of do some sort of internship programs with that. Most notably, they've had some luck with the Step Up program, doing some internships with various businesses out in the community, and they're trying to work that through also with the girls program also. So they've got some real exciting things that they're working on over there to help the students out.
Nice.
So.
Wonderful. So our important future school board dates, the Northeast Metro 916 board meeting will be August 2nd, 2017 at the Bel Air School starting at 6 p.m. The Fridley School Board meeting will be August 15th, 2017. The work session starting at 5:30 at the City Hall Conference Room A. Open forum, 7 p.m., City Hall Conference Room A. And the business meeting, 7:30, City Council Chambers. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
A motion by Riddle, seconded by Thornton to adjourn this Fridley School Board meeting. And the time is 8:25. Thank you.
Call in. Vote.
Do I need to?
Sure.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And with that, we are adjourned.